Welcome back. We will see if we can get a functional demo going right now. So I will log on as the admin here. Yeah, so this is the admin dashboard. So where the fiduciaries and apps, grievances are sort of displayed. I will go and add a fiduciary right now. The fiduciary is call this as TSI co-op is the fiduciary for me. So the email could be like, okay, TSI co-op. Primary domain is that's it. So I have sort of registered a fiduciary. Ideally, there will be a sort of a domain name validation will be there. For now, since it's local environment, we don't have that. So that is step one. The moment a fiduciary is created, so we will sort of go and define the apps that needs to either send consent or access the consents. So we will define all the apps here. So let me start with the consent app, which is the app that sort of collects the consent. So whoever is responsible for this, I think we can put their email. Okay, the purpose is consent capture. Right, so DPA reference we'll just ignore for now. So I've created a consent app. I will also create an analytics app, right? App name analytics app. So the analytics team would be the contact for this app. I'll also create one more app called the user app, right? So this will be used by the data principals, right? So we'll say users, whoever is responsible for managing users, maybe we'll call this as support team. Right. Say user access. Right. So I have 3 different apps that are created that are linked with my fiduciary, which is TSI co-op. So I will also add users to the system. Right now I have only a super admin. I will also create like a DPO it's the data protection officer. I will give it a password and it is linked to TSI co-op. Status is active. Yeah, so I've added a DPO also now. Once it's done, I need to go create some API keys so that I can start accessing the consent management system. In order to do that, I do a generate new API key, TSI co-op, and I go one by one. I'll start with the consent app. So what is the description? Okay, it's for collecting consent from users. So they would need a consent read, consent write, policy read, audit write log. Right. Then I generate key. So it's generated an API key and API secret. I'm just copying that up and keeping it in under my consent app. API secret also I will copy it. Right. So this is one I have done. Okay, now finish and sort of close. Similarly, I will now go and do that for the validate for analytics. Right, so it will do a consent read. It won't need a consent write. It will maybe need a policy read, purge confirmation, audit write log. This is also generated. I'm copying my API key and keeping it along with my analytics app and the API secret also. Okay, I'm going to do this process again for my user app. For user dashboard, they will read consent. You should be able to read policies. Yeah, nothing else, right? Copy the user app also, right? Okay, so then I'll go back to I'll finish this and close. I'm sort of done here, and now if you see here, the dashboard got changed. So I will sort of log out now, and I will log in as the DPO of tsi-coop.org. And you get to see this. So the DPO, dashboard is there, and you have policies and principles. So we need to create one policy right now. I will define one policy, DPDP Act. So the policy will be in the form of a JSON. Let me just open that up. I might be having it somewhere here. Okay, so this is a policy, privacy policy with all title and data processing purposes. If you see, there are a few purposes for account management, website analytics, community engagement, for solution service showcase, and maturity capability assessment. These are the purposes for which our data fiduciary, which is TSI co-op, will collect the data. So I will copy this and paste this here and see if it saves. Yeah, so policy is sort of created as a draft, and then also just publish it, right? Okay, so policy is now published. Okay, so we are ready for consent capture, consent verification. We are also ready for user dashboard review right now. So the way I do it is I have these uh, apps sort of ready with me. So here is the URL for the consent collector. So I will plug in the API that I created key for the consent app. And I will enter the policy ID that my DPO created, which is P1, and say start tour. So the moment that is done, here is a consent collector tour. I think you can go through the details. But the essence of it is, if you see at the bottom, you have these cookie collection. So you can do a manage this one preferences, and you will get to see those all those 5 purposes for that we had configured in the backend policy. So for now, okay, the account registration and mandatory, that is mandatory. I'm going to leave all others. I'm not going to enable any of them, and I will sort of do a save choice, right? So that is my policy, and I can sort of review by clicking on the privacy choices here. It sort of opens up, right? So this is my current privacy choice. I'm not sharing anything else. And if you see how that data is looking, that data is looking like this. It's a JSON file where I think the purpose account management alone is sort of true. The rest are all false, right? So that is how, I mean, this is when the user is not even logged in into the data fiduciary website, right? But now the user wants to log in, right? When the user log in, we will link a principal, right? So here the principal, let's say, is Satish, right? Satish at test.com, right? So I submit the link. Typically this integration we need to do when as soon as the user sort of logs in. So when they log in, you sort of tie the consent with the authenticated user, and the consent information looks like this along with the user, which is Satish at test.com, right? So now I've linked it. So then I have in my, let's say, data fiduciary website, I have some of these consent gated features like add feature, add post, etc. So here is one feature where I'm doing an add post, and remember, I've not given permissions for engagement. So because of that, when I click on it, it says access denied. However, so if I go to the manage preference again, and then I say okay, community engagement, and save choice, then it grants me access, right? So this is how you implement a consent gated feature on your system using TSI DPDP CMS, right? So now we have seen the consent collector part. Let's see how to do the consent verification, right? So for that I have another small app called the consent verifier app. I go here. So here I will use the analytics service, right? Analytics service is the one that will verify the consent. So I will take my analytics app key and credentials. Okay, my data principal is Satish at test.com. The purpose ID, let me see first. I'll say account management, right? Account management is mandatory, so the permission is there. So we should see that I have the access. That's exactly what is happening here. So it checked and it came back and it said, okay, consent is valid. But now, what if I check something else, right? What if I check uh, website analytics, right? So I had not given the access over there, so it should ideally say, okay, validation failed. So this is how it sort of works. So whenever you provide, when the user provides the consent there, that is what is being sort of validated here, right? So we have seen the consent verifier right now. Let's take a look at how our user dashboard sort of looks. I have another small app for it. So right, it's asked for the API key. So I will use the user app API key. API secret. I'll say yeah. So this is my user dashboard, and if you see here, um, this the full consent history. When I initially started, I only the account registration was granted, but then later I went and gave access to one more thing, so which is the community engagement. For some reason this should have worked, and not sure why it is not working, but nevertheless this is the idea here. So I think we are bringing the entire consent provenance here. And now let's say as a user, if I want to withdraw all consent, I can click on withdraw, and it says okay, withdrawn. And if you look at the granularity, it sort of withdrawn everything here, right? So this is how the users can sort of revoke consent. And if they want to submit a grievance here, they will be able to just say, okay, I withdrew consent, still I am getting messages, please check. They will be able to submit a grievance here, and once it's done, as a DPO can go check those grievance right here. It will show up there on the DPO's dashboard, and the DPO can also, okay, somebody is sort of reaching out, the DPO should be able to sort of check and see the exact same thing that the user saw, and they will see the consent is being sort of revoked. Yeah, hope this was helpful. Thank you so much.